Hi and welcome. I'm Andi Mioc and you are watching Context. US President Donald Trump's letter to Iran's top authorities on its nuclear program has been delivered through an intermediary. Announcing he sent the letter, Trump said there are two ways to, quote, handle Iran, militarily and through negotiations. The Islamic Republic's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, said Tehran will not be bullied into talks and that the American offer is a deception. Khamenei also referred to the nuclear deal Iran struck with major powers on limiting Tehran's nuclear activities in exchange for Western sanctions relief, a deal that Trump pulled the U.S. out of during his first term, leading to Iran breaching those limits. More recently, upon returning to the White House, Trump reinstated his maximum pressure policy on Iran, seeking to cripple its economy and slash its oil exports to zero. Meanwhile, the European signatories of the nuclear deal and the UN's nuclear watchdog are cautioning on Iran's expanding enriched uranium stockpile. On the latest in the US-Iran troubled relationship, Tehran's nuclear ambitions and attempts by major powers to salvage the nuclear deal. We're talking with analyst Turaj Shiralilu, coming to us live from Tehran, and Hamid Khan Al-Mashriki, a strategic affairs expert, joining us from Manchester. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. Let's start with the letter itself. Turaj, what do you make of Trump sending a letter to Khamenei directly, cutting out all of the middlemen? And how have the officials and the public in the country reacted?
It is not the first letter. There is the that during Mr. Trump's first term in office, he sent a similar letter, apparently, through former Prime Minister of Japan, Mr. Shinzo Abe, which was not delivered at all. Mr. Abe met Ayatollah Khamenei, but he didn't deliver the letter. So this is the second attempt. But the fact about this time, the second round news coming from about this letter is that Mr. Trump already broke the news about it. Like 5 days ago, he said that he has written a letter, and in the meantime, there were news coming that, okay, it is not delivered, and now it's delivered. And once again, it's not a direct letter in that sense. That means that it has been sent through an intermediary, but it is directly addressed to Ayatollah Khamenei. And as Mr. Trump said, still, we don't know the content of the letter. As Mr. Trump said, he has put a two choice of one, accepting the terms on a nuclear deal or on Iran's nuclear program, or entering to the hard choice of direct military confrontation. This is what we know so far about this letter and about its content. And Mr. Arakchi, Iranian foreign minister, yesterday on his Instagram account, confirmed receipt of the letter, but he didn't go into any details. And he said that the letter given during a meeting with a high-ranking Emirati official who visited him, he said, we discussed bilateral and regional issues, and also a letter was submitted to me. So he tried, I see that he tried to downplay the importance of this letter, that we had a meeting of bilateral and regional issues, and at the same time, such a letter was delivered to me. But once again, the feeling about this letter is that as I was following the news media, just one day after it was delivered, and also in the 5 days back since it has been discussed, it is not a sense of optimism that this letter will do a big impact on Iran-U.S. relations, but the general feeling is a sense of skepticism, mistrust, or distrust.
Well, Turaj, as you mentioned, Trump did directly say that military action is on the table if Iran does not make a deal. Khamenei, in turn, rejected what he called bullying tactics. Hamid, do you see a realistic possibility for an escalation here, or is this one of those Trump shock statements meant to shake up the situation?
Andy, thank you very much. I believe that since Trump have come into office again, he has been giving such kind of statements, and I would say that it is very irresponsible statements from him as being the president of United States. As far as Iran is concerned, Iran has been facing sanctions for the over 2 decades now, and Iran have very well survived within those sanctions. Then on the other hand, Iran have given a very clear message during last, I should say, 8 or 10 years that Iran would be able to, manage, would be able to survive under extreme sanctions. And if there will be imposed any war on them, then they are well prepared. And that's why we have seen during the Gaza and crisis just recently that when there was a news that Israel is going to attack Iran, and then Iran retaliated as well. So I believe that Trump is trying to take a too big of a risk, and Iran is not going to compromise anymore. Iran is not in the position to compromise anymore. Rather, Iran have given a very clear and loud message in terms of starting regular naval war exercises along with Russia and China this week in near the Chabahar, coast. So it means that Iran is giving a clear message that if there will be any attack on Iran or escalation on Iran, it could involve Russia and China in the as well, and that would be very catastrophic for the region. On the other hand, whatever Trump is doing, it is on the wishes of Israel's plan. It is on the wishes of other pressure in Jewish lobby in America as well. But on the other hand, if you look at the current situation, Iran have given a very clear response to that they are willing to talk about the nuclear deal, which according to Iran they abide by, but America is the one who broke that deal, and then Iran is willing to talk about their sanctions, to how to release them, how to relieve them. But if anybody think that by bullying Iran they can force Iran what they want, I think in current scenario it is almost impossible, and that is the message which has been sent to Trump as well. And Trump is very unpredictable, so we can't say that he will be able to take going on attack on Iran or anything. I don't think so. He will take that silly step in current scenario where the situation in Gulf region is already fragile, and it is it will be very catastrophic for the region and maybe for the entire world. So I don't think Iran will not retaliate. Iran will immediately retaliate, and it will escalate, and it will expand the conflict on a very larger scale. Could be unimaginable.
Trump's outright threat of military action has left some wondering. Turaj, what's the feeling inside Iran? Have the people rallied? Has the threat caused concern?
Because the letter arrived yesterday, and today is a Thursday or a half day, in fact, it's a weekend day in Iran, practically there was no timing for arrangement or showing objection or any opposition to this letter at the public level. But I think tomorrow, when Pride Day prayers are held across Iran, there will be demonstrations out by people who are offering their prayers, and basically when they are out, they show their opposition to it. And at the same time, at the prayer leaders' sermons, when they deliver their speeches, they will express some part of the official or some aspect of the official view about this are expressed by the Friday prayer leaders. But practically speaking, no. At the moment, there's only a sense, the sentiment that they're sensing. The sentiment is that it will be useless to talk with the United States, especially with Mr. Trump in office. And it is likewise going to a more like a vicious circle. Iran didn't enter into a new round of negotiations with the Democratic office of Mr. Biden in office because they felt that, okay, if Trump comes after him, he will tear down the agreement, any agreement again. And now that Mr. Trump is in office, the feeling is that, okay, what if we enter into a new round of agreement with Mr. Trump, and once again, he doesn't keep his word, he doesn't feel committed to follow his obligations, and he will tear it down again. So this is the general feeling which is creating a sense of resentment that it will be useless to talk with the United States at this moment directly. Iran didn't say we won't negotiate, but we won't negotiate directly with the United States because as long as we are under this maximum pressure campaign policy of the United States, which Mr. Trump has resumed after he came to office. He wants, as you said, to slash Iran's oil export to zero. And at the same time, Iran's a lot of basic strategic commodities are under embargo. Iran cannot import very important and sensitive medicine. Why we should enter into a new round of directions with him if he's going to cancel it again, if he's going to back down again, and if he's going to turn it down again. And this is not a case that this is not a case that been like 47 years after Iran's revolution. In 1979, Iranians had a revolution that deposed the pro-West, pro-Shah monarchy in Iran. And again, at that time, there was some precedence. Back in 1953, there was a joint UK-US-led coup against a democratic prime minister of Iran, Mr. Mohammad Mossadegh, a very leading role in the nationalization of oil industry of Iran against the British company. So at that time, this prime minister was ousted and Shah was back to office. So this precedence of like 50 years or 70 years or 80 years again makes Iranians pessimistic about the intentions of the United States out of this letter writing or over its Middle East policy. Just see, generally speaking, Iranian officials, Iranian people regard U.S. Middle East policy pro-Israeli. That means they are objecting that why there should be a non-conditional support to Israeli policies in Iran against Muslim nations of Palestine. Iranians are Muslims, and at the same time, they see the humanitarian side of that.
Siraj, you're mentioning the regional
policy.
You're mentioning the regional relations, but let's just jump back in with the letter as we're waiting Tehran's official response, and calls are coming from the Europeans and the International Atomic Energy Agency for Iran to stop enriching uranium. Beijing is set to host a meeting tomorrow on Iran's nuclear program with Chinese, Russian, and Iranian officials joining. Hamid, do you see such a framework as a possible replacement for the JCPOA lineup?
Look, I mean, Iran have clearly said that they followed the JCPOA as well, and it is Americans who did not abide even on that JCPOA as well. I think the efforts from Chinese and Russians are very clear that they want Iran to not to gain a full nuclear capability, but at the same time they do not want Iran to compromise too much or let American policy take over the entire, nuclear issue. So I think at this stage, where there are some unconfirmed news as well, that is already almost nearly the capability of gaining the nuclear, capability as well. So in this situation, I believe that it will be a message for Americans and the Europe for reconsidering their policies against Iran. There is no way they can push or they can bully or they can force Iran to back up or to roll back their nuclear program at this stage. Yes, there is a very clear possibility of reaching to an agreement where Iran must be bound not to have any kind of nuclear attack or anything on any country, or use of nuclear weapons or preparation of nuclear weapons, but with the relief to the Iran as well. Iran have suffered a lot due to these sanctions. Iran have economically suffered. Iran's people have suffered. Iran's, so many industries have been suffering due to these sanctions, embargo as well. And then if we consider all that facts, I think it is a clear message. It will be a message by this meeting held in Beijing tomorrow that rest of the world cannot push or cannot bully Iran the way they want to. Rather, they have to come to the meaningful talks. They have to discuss it. They have to put a reasonable solution of the problem. And if they will do it with a bias or with impartiality, it will not be able to resolve the issue. Will be the clear message from Beijing, I think so.
Turaj, you briefly touched upon Israel. How would you say that Iran's allies being severely weakened, like Hezbollah and Hamas, or deposed, like Assad in Syria, what would you say Iran's position and capabilities are now to reject an American proposal? And do you see Saudi Arabia and especially Israel trying to capitalize on this momentum from Washington?
The history of relations of Iran with Hamas, Hezbollah, goes back to Iranian constitution. Iranian constitution supports oppressed nations, or it says that, well, at that time, imagine 47 years ago, back in 1980 or so, when it was approved by Iranian parliament, it said that we will support freedom movements. We will support anti-occupation forces. So these are not, in Iranian terminology, these are not called proxies. These are not called, in one sense, terrorist groups. These are called freedom fighters. These are called resistance groups. And in one sense, jihadi groups, not in the sense of Daesh or ISIS, jihadi groups who are fighting against oppression. So this is rooted in Iran's constitution to support such groups. Well, recent developments in the region, like 2 years, starting with the Hamas-Israeli war, and also targeted killing of Hezbollah leader in Beirut by Israel, has made some changes in the picture. But the bigger picture for Iranians has not changed. That means Iran has not cut down its support to such groups, because it's based on an ideology. It's based on a mission rooted in the constitution of Iran. And that doesn't mean that Iran will back down, because these groups by Iran are regarded as anti-occupation forces, or they are resistance forces. So that's number one. But a lot has changed, not just for Iran, but at the regional picture, but also the global picture since 50 days ago when Mr. Trump came to office. It is not only a picture for Iran, a specific picture that has changed. Let's have a look. The U.S.-China relations, or the trade war, has tightened. The U.S.-Russia relations is on a rapprochement, an unprecedented rapprochement, to the extent that Russia is one of the likely intermediaries in Iran-U.S. relations. At the same time, the transatlantic relations the picture is changing. The relations between there is a drift of relations between the United States and the EU, not over the Ukraine war, but also over the case of tariffs. And at the same time, Mr. Trump has expelled from his first circle, close circle of apostles, the neocons who were supporting, like Mr. Mike Pompeo, like John Bolton, like Nikki Haley, who were supporting a war with Iran during Mr. Trump's first term in office. And these neocons are now gone, and Mr. Trump has adopted a new channel of carrying this or submitting this message. It used to be Oman, and some people were thinking of Qatar maybe, and it is not even delivered by the Swiss embassy in Tehran, which is the intersection of the US in Tehran. It is delivered through United Arab Emirates, and at the same time, back to your question about role of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, as far as I know, has said that as long as there is no sovereign, independent Palestinian state, there will be no official relations with Israel. And even the Abraham Pact is under question as long as the case of Palestine is not settled. So I see that it is not only a regional picture, but also the global picture.
The things are changing. I'm so sorry, gentlemen. We're out of time. Unfortunately, this has been an excellent talk. Thank you for your insights and opinions.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. That's all we have for in this edition of Context. Stay tuned to A News.